Well, the goldenrod in our weeds and wildflowers plot is just starting to bloom, and you can see how it is a wonderful addition to the flower bed. It's also a good plant for Oklahoma because it is native to this area and it likes hot, dry conditions, which we definitely have. It also has a beautiful yellow bloom. Now you can actually see right here what happens when it gets too much water and a little too good of conditions. It actually grows and starts to flop out, and ours gets watered too much because we water the turf next to it. However, we have some also here at the gardens that is planted in an area where it gets no attention in at all, and it stands up beautifully and has a wonderful yellow bloom. This is a nice addition to the garden because it has fall color, which is sometimes hard to come by, especially on a year like this if we haven't been watering very much. Now, a lot of people don't want to plant goldenrod in their garden because they think it makes them sneeze. And we're going to give you a little reminder of the difference between goldenrod and ragweed. This is a segment we showed you last fall, and we just thought we'd remind you again that there is a difference. Well, the fall allergy season is definitely upon us, and while you're driving down the road or walking and you're sneezing and crying, the plant that you see blooming most brightly is usually the one that gets blamed for all your misery. And that's why today I wanted to explain a little bit of the difference between goldenrod and ragweed. Now, this time of year, a lot of people are allergic to ragweed, and that's what makes us miserable. But there's a very good perennial plant that we can use in our landscapes that you also see along the side of the road, and that's goldenrod. And right here is some goldenrod, and it's absolutely a beautiful plant. It's got these wonderful yellow flowers. It blooms in a season when a lot of things aren't, and it has a nice upright growth habit, and this is a very good plant to add to your perennial border for some bloom this time of year. The problem is it's been confused with ragweed, and most people think they're allergic to goldenrod, which most people aren't allergic to this. Now, the culprit for all your sneezing is living right next door here, and this is ragweed. And this, if you look along the side here, it's just teeming with ragweed. In fact, there's more ragweed here than there is goldenrod. But the bloom on the goldenrod is so much brighter that that's what catches your eye as you're driving along. Now, actually, the ragweed, if you look up here, it's actually blooming. You can't tell it because they're green here on the top, but if I turn these over, you can see underneath that the blooms are actually hanging underneath, and they're just full of blooms. And this is sending all that pollen into the air and making you sneeze and your eyes water and everything like this. Now, there are some other distinctions between the plants. In addition to the blooms, if you'll look at the foliage on the goldenrod here, it's actually got more lanceolate leaf. And so if this is growing on the side of the road before they start to bloom, you can tell the difference between the leaves. This has the lanceolate leaf like this. It's very long and skinny. And then over here on our ragweed, we've got this tri-lobed, almost kind of a mitten-like leaf. And so before these even bloom, you can tell the difference. And if you want to, you could try and get rid of the ragweed before it blooms, which would be a monumental task. But if you're trying to save your goldenrod, that's how you would tell the difference. Now, there are actually goldenrod cultivars that are specifically for planting in your garden, so you might look around in your local nursery and see about planting some of these in your garden for some beautiful fall color, now that you know that this is not the culprit, but the ragweed is. Well, speaking of planting things in our gardens right now, it's just about time to start planting those bulbs. But there are a few things that you'll want to consider before that. So let's go take a look at how to buy some bulbs. Now, in addition to goldenrod, there are several other low water use perennials that are very good plants to use in Oklahoma landscapes, especially if you're trying to put in a xeriscape. And one of them we also have planted in our weeds and wildflowers garden, and that is poppy mallow or wine cup. Now, this is a beautiful little plant. It's very low growing, usually about 6 inches tall, is as tall as it gets, but it spreads out to about 2 feet around, and you can see that it has a trailing habit to it. It also has very nice rounded leaves that adds a nice dainty look to it, and it has these violet colored flowers with cream centers. Now this one isn't quite open yet. However, we have one that has been open for a while, and you can see what a pretty flower that is. Now these will actually bloom from midsummer through frost, and they're nice to put down below other plants. Now they like to be planted in full sun in dry conditions. So if it's a wet place, they're not going to do very well for you. However, a dry place is just the spot to put these. Now other plants include Achillea or yarrow. This is a beautiful fern-like plant with tall flower spikes that also likes a full sun position, and although it likes a little bit of moisture when you first plant it, once it's established, it takes very dry conditions. Now Achillea flowers will actually make very good cut flowers, and they come in a wide variety of colors, all the way from whites to yellows to even reds, corals, and pinks. So you have a nice selection if you choose Achillea for your garden. Other perennials that do very well are the Agastacia species. Agastacia rupestris, or licorice mint hyssop, and also Agastacia canna are both bushy type plants with narrow gray-green leaves and long spikes of flowers. They're actually native to West Texas and southern New Mexico, so you know they like dry conditions. Now they prefer well-drained soil, and overwatering can be a problem with these when you grow them in clay soil. They'll get 2 to 3 feet tall and 1.5 to 2 feet wide, and they're a very good hummingbird plant. Butterfly weed is a great plant for dry, sunny landscapes, and it can be quite tall at times and almost sprawling. It adds a coarse texture and nice sunny orange colors with blooms that last from 2 to 4 weeks. It has dark green, narrow leaves and likes well-drained sandy soil and is tolerant of wind, heat, drought, and it's also a wonderful plant for butterfly larvae. Now if you're looking for a blue-colored perennial for your low water use garden, you might think of planting Russian sage. It's a kind of a sub-shrub perennial that's 3 to 5 feet tall and 3 to 4 feet wide, so it's great for the back of the border. Now it looks a lot like a salvia. It has tall spikes of blue flowers, and it also has a grayish-green foliage. It likes average soil with good drainage and full sun. And if you water it too much, it can get kind of large and floppy, so make sure you plant it in a well-drained area and keep it on the dry side. Now if you want a shorter perennial with that blue color, plant some catmint. It only gets about 18 inches tall, 30 inches wide, and it's a mounded plant that has lavender blue flowers in the early summer. If you shear these, you can get another bloom in the late fall. It has gray-green foliage, and it has a nice mounded habit and likes full sun to a little bit of shade and again dry conditions. And these are just a few of the perennials that are great for a low water use garden, and they also withstand our hot, dry summers. Well, speaking of plants that like hot, dry summers, you'll be very interested in the next fruit that we're going to show you.